On this episode of Office Hours with Dr. Guy, we talk about being stuck and getting unstuck. Bring your questions to Office Hours with Dr. Guy. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Guy, author of The Dissertation Warrior and founder of thedissertationmentor.com, and I want to welcome you to episode 17 of Office Hours with Dr. Guy. In this episode, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart. The idea that you might be stuck with procrastination, that you might be stuck with not enough time, that you might be stuck in the hell of continuous revision cycles with your chair. That to me is something I want to alleviate. I feel for you and I want to help you excel. So this episode is about answering your questions in the area of being stuck and how to get unstuck. Marvin asks, how do I get unstuck from a cycle of revision after revision? Hey Marvin, welcome to the show. The revision trap is something that I hope that every single person watching this video can escape. The revision trap is where you submit something that you think is really decent to the university, to your chair, to the quality review board, to your IRB, but typically it's with the chair and the committee where this issue comes up the most. And you naturally get a request back for revision. There's nothing wrong with getting a request for revision. That in and of itself is normal, expected. Most candidates can expect to get somewhere in the ballpark about 3-ish major revision requests during the proposal stage. And yet, the revision trap comes when you repeatedly will get feedback returned to you, and there's revision requests that are asking you to do the same thing that you thought you did, or new things that were not brought up before. And what the revision trap does is over time, and where the revision trap actually comes in, Marvin, is where over time the candidate loses spirit and hope of finishing. And some universities that will go nameless have implemented even a revision maximum where there's one university that's prominent here in the United States where if you hit 3 major revision requests by the university, that's the max you can have. And if you hit 4th, you're out of their program. So it's pretty serious. But what concerns me the most as a person that works with dissertation writers and doctoral candidates is when you lose hope. And we don't want you to lose hope. So I want to tell you about the 3 ways that you can prevent yourself to falling victim to the revision trap. And this comes in the form of 3 poisons. And so I want to tell you about 3 poisons and their 3 antidotes, the 3 things that you should look out for, that you should be careful about in terms of revision requests and submitting items for feedback such that you don't get caught in this revision trap. So poison number 1 that gets people caught in the revision trap is submitting too early. Submitting too early. Submitting your draft too early. I want you to imagine for a second that you promise your significant other, because it's Friday or Saturday or Sunday, that you are going to do a sweet thing, a great thing. You're going to clean the house and for the family, for your partnership. And 3/4 the way through this job, your significant other comes home. And rather than continuing the process of finishing this work that you have said that you're going to do, you stop the work altogether and you look at your significant other and you say, what do you think about the work that I've done so far? And is this good enough? And well, the challenge is, of course, it's not good enough. It's not a final job. It's not a final draft of your work yet. So naturally, your significant other might point out, hey, you missed a spot here, you missed a spot here, you missed a spot here. Well, the second you receive feedback like that, well, all of your attention just goes to those items that have not yet been finished. So there could be other things that in the house need to be addressed, but instead you're focused only on what your significant other says. And unfortunately, this is what candidates do as well. You're much more likely to get a significant number of revision requests back and feedback requests that might not have otherwise been asked of you because the work was not yet fully completed. My recommendation always, the antidote to poison number 1 is always submit your best work and your finished work. Now, there are times that you need to ask a question of your chair. So how do you submit a draft or an item to them through which you ask a question, or with which you can ask a question? Well, I recommend just sending them the section or the paragraph that your question relates to. So that way you're not caught in this trap where they see all of your work before it's done, and therefore they can have lots and loads of requests. Poison number 2, though, is where you address only the revisions that they ask for, which seems natural, right? I mean, if you get a feedback request from your chair and they say address item A, B, and C, or if they left comments, which is most often the case, they leave comments inside your draft and they say, look at this, look at this, look at this. Well, it's easy to simply address those sentences or those items that they bring up. The challenge, though, is that once you receive feedback from your chair, it's like those horse blinders. I'm sure you've seen them, like horses out there in the field that have these blinders on where they only can see that which is in front of them. That happens with you as a writer. All of the potentials, all of the possibilities of what your project could be, all the great things that your draft could be, can sometimes be limited because you're so focused on just what the chair has asked for revisions. And here's the problem. Let's say they ask you to change a sentence, and you change that sentence. Well, that's not going to satisfy them entirely, because what if that sentence was a major logical point, and by changing that sentence, you're changing the alignment of the entire draft, the logical alignment of the entire draft? What if you're planning on doing a certain type of study, and by changing this small element of the study, you've changed it into something else entirely? So it's when we focus just on what the chair is asked for before we fully understand what's being asked of us, there's this challenge and where we could actually miss, like we could be focused on the tree instead of be focused on the forest, the system that that every sentence of your draft is part of to make this whole document. So focus not on a single thing that your chair is asking for. Address what's being asked of you, and then see how how the rest of your paper might have to be modified to assist in making that new change aligned with the whole document as a whole. Revise not just a single sentence. Instead, address what the chair is asking for, and then look at the entire system of your document and ask yourself, do I still understand the logic that is being played out here? And chances are, if you don't understand the logic, then your chair is most likely, or your committee, or anyone else that's looking at your draft is not going to understand either. Now, poison number 3 is kind of like the opposite of poison number 2, is instead of addressing only the revisions that are being asked of you by your chair, you go completely overboard and you change more than is required. So you can go and, for example, they ask you, hey, would you please add a section in your literature review about this certain topic? And instead of doing just what they're asking, you go and you write a 10 or 30-page version of that, and then it's a little bit too much. Now, this last one is the most challenging in my view, because when you're not entirely sure what your chair is asking for, it's more likely you're going to get it wrong. And my grandest advice, when possible, is to reach out to the individual that is asking you to make a revision and ask them just to clarify the revision. Just say, I'm reading this comment here in the draft. Could you just clarify for me what you mean by that? I want to make sure that I understand you so I can properly address this in my revision. If they say no to providing you any further clues, I think that's a bit odd personally. There are certain universities here in the United States and really abroad where they use blind reviewers for the quality review process, and you are not able to reach out to those individuals and ask them questions about what revision they're really asking for. Even if they gave a mediocre request, a request that that's not fully understood by you, and it's not really fully explained, sometimes you don't have the right to reach out to these individuals. That's where your chair and your committee are really your grandest allies, is that you can reach out to them and you can ask questions of them and say, what does this revision mean, before I go and I do the hard work for it. So my hope is, Marvin, that you'll be able to avoid the revision trap by looking out for these 3 poisons and providing their antidotes. Olivia asks, how do I get unstuck from the cycle of procrastination? Olivia, welcome to the show. So excited that you're here and so happy that I can, well, I guess you're not here, but I'm happy to receive your question and to be able to answer it. So if it's easier to do nothing right now, just let it sit, versus the potential payoff to getting this thing done, then there's a little chance you're going to finish. If the pain of never finishing is not greater than the pain of just sticking around and doing the status quo thing right now, there's little chance you're going to do anything. And so my biggest recommendation is, first of all, to think about, what would life be like if I never finished this thing? I want you to picture yourself 5 years, 10 years from now, still paying the student loan off of something you don't own. You're still paying it off. And I know candidates that are still doing that. Not even candidates anymore. They're ABD people. They advertise themselves on LinkedIn and these other networks as such and such ABD, which means not PhD. So ABD. And they are still paying off those loans. I talked with a guy a couple weeks ago, $130,000 this guy is still paying off. Like, you know, a fair portion of a house payment every single month for something he doesn't own. He's been 10 years out. Think about that. So how would you feel if that was you? And does that rumble anything within your spirit to allow you to finish? It motivates me for sure. Man, that motivates me. But then on the other side, what would be the payoff if you did finish? You know, in my family, it was easy. My wife was very wise. You know, we had just been married, and she said, we're not going to have a house. We're not going to buy a house. We're not going to have kids until you finish this thing. Well, for me and my life and my culture and my upbringing, having a house and having kids is like a really, really big deal. So the idea, the payoff was getting my dream, right? My dream. Without this doctorate, I couldn't get that dream. And that was so motivating to me. A lot of people that are pursuing this degree, though, there's maybe not a payoff for them. So you need to create one and find one. So I guess there's like the pain side and there's like the pleasure side. And you need to make either the pain of not finishing worse than the pain of just sticking around and doing what you're doing now. Or on the other side, you need to make the pleasure of winning and finishing this thing so provocative that of course you're going to finish. Because there's nothing else you would rather be doing than to fulfill your dream of doing whatever this thing is. So now that you have this vision of the pain of not finishing and the pleasure of finishing, what are you going to do with that? Well, first of all, I recommend going big. The conventional wisdom is to go small, to make small changes. And I'm a huge fan of small changes over time. There's this effect in life where if you do lots of small things over a long period of time, you're going to have some pretty profound results that can come about. And yet, when we're facing a procrastination situation, it's been the status quo for some time. So in my view, we need to eradicate the status quo. We need to go big. And the way that we go big is, first of all, we simplify. We simplify life. I'll be talking about that in a moment, how to simplify life. But first of all, we remove ourselves, if possible, to the best of our ability without being completely insane and hurting people around us. We remove ourselves from the environment that's creating the procrastination in the first place. So in this case, I'm not saying you move out of your home, but I am saying that perhaps that the location that you have designated as your workspace for your dissertation needs to change entirely. I do recommend you go big. You rent an office down in an executive suite. And by an office, I mean rent a cubicle down in an executive suite. There's lots of companies that do co-working, and you can search this in your area, co-working in your area. And there's co-working spaces that you pay a monthly surcharge, like $50 to, and up, for every month for you to have internet access, to have a little place to sit anytime you want. You just clock in, you walk in, and you're there, and it's your office for that time being. And because you have this separate space, it doesn't lend itself to the problems that arose in the original space too. Another place to go big is to stop focusing on pages written, because that is absolute, in my view, that's a waste of time, is focusing on pages written. Focusing on pages read is far more important at your stage of your dissertation work. Pages read and quotes gathered, as in the juicy tidbits that you find inside of that reading, extract those out and put those somewhere, because then you're able to build an arsenal of quotes that will assist you later on in your writing process. And frankly, remove comforts from your life. There are certain things that we rely upon every day to help us get through, and I'm not saying get rid of coffee. That's a non-negotiable comfort in my life. But things like Netflix, TV, things that we tend to waste our time doing. These are typically the things that we bookend our days with. It's the things we start out with in the morning and the things that we end our day with. Typically, it's the things we end our day with. And so it's those things that we remove. We don't give ourselves those things unless we've accomplished a certain amount of work during the day. It is that type of will that will help you forward because you're removing those things that are allowing you to waste that time in the first place. And lastly, peer pressure is exceedingly effective. I'm not a fan of shame, but I am a fan of peer pressure. And by right now, most people in your life, they somewhat know that you're working on a doctorate. They might know that you're working on a dissertation. But my recommendation is to put yourself out there on social media and say, I'm working on my dissertation, and this is what I did on my dissertation today. Really every single day, start posting a dissertation log on your social media channels about what you did today, every single day without fail. If you did nothing, you force yourself to write, I did nothing today. So that way people know and they're aware of your life. You're not going alone in this work. You are with other people doing this work because they know what you're up to. So in short, the juice of how to overcome procrastination is to make sure that you have a vision of how good it's going to be when you finish. And secondarily, how bad would this be if you never finished, Olivia? If in 10 years you're still paying off these student loans, and instead of sending your kid to college because you could have used that 100 grand there, you're still paying it off for something that you never finished. And when I think about the joy that I can bring to my family, or I think about the pain that I could potentially bring, man, I'm willing to do almost anything to help them. And I have a feeling you feel the same way. So go and get this thing done. Wolf asks, how do I get unstuck from not having enough time? Wolf, welcome to the show. Peter Drucker says, that which gets measured gets managed. What I want you to do is take a piece of paper and put it next to your phone or your computer, and I want you to write down for one day every action that you take during the course of your day, everything that you do. Not scratching your nose, but everything that you do. Everything that you are up to in your daily life. If you check your email, put it on there. If you have a meeting with somebody, put it on there. Put everything that you do during a single day on this sheet, just for one day. With the knowledge of what you're up to, you're able to start thinking about what can I change about my daily work? What can I change about the way that I manage my time? Where is my time going? And do I have the choice to make a change there in some fashion? One of the most creative and effective ways I've seen to manage time is something called the Eisenhower Decision Matrix. The Eisenhower Decision Matrix is a 4-quadrant chart where you're able to chart that which is important and urgent, important and not urgent, not important but urgent, and not urgent and not important. And as you look at this chart, and I'm probably showing it right now on my screen, my hope is that you're able to see a value in you organizing your day using a chart like this. And what I would say is after you've spent your day logging all of the different things that you've been up to, on the second day, I want you to use this chart. I want you to write down those things that are on this list. Now here's the thing, this is probably not a one-day chart. This is probably a global chart for your life as it is as a snapshot right now. What are the things that are important and urgent in your life right now? What are the things that are not important and not urgent? Here's the thing. Most of the time, those things that are not important and not urgent are the things that are not getting done, but sometimes those things that are in that slot are things we're actually spending a lot of time doing. And what I want to do is I want to get them out. I don't want you to be doing things that are not important and not urgent. So what I want you to do is I want you to fill out this chart and check this, and I want you to check this out. I want you to let me know how this has been helpful for you. Lastly, the best way to optimize your time for dissertation writing is just to simply schedule everything. I mean, schedule your phone calls, schedule your time working on your dissertation, schedule your work time, what you do during your work time, schedule email checks, schedule time with your significant other, everything. Schedule everything for 1 week so you can optimize your schedule and see where do things fit anyway and what are the modifications that I can make so that way I'm getting the time that I need to get this project done. I need you to be able to get this project done so you can go and pursue your dream and move on to greater and better things. Well, everybody, this was episode 17. My hope is that you got something out of this such that you do not fall into the trap of revision, the revision trap that holds so many candidates hostage for months or years to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars in their life. So what I want you to do to show me that you're getting something out of this is go on to my Facebook or maybe even tag me on Instagram and send me your copy of your Eisenhower decision chart that you do for this season of life. And not only that, what I'd love for you to do is check out the subscription link below, go ahead and subscribe, and also make sure you ring that notification bell that's down there, because if you don't enable notifications, you're not going to hear about some of the special freebies I'm going to be giving out in the coming weeks and months, and I want you to be able to receive that notification of getting those. If you are ready to make an ultimate leap into finishing your dissertation, I want you to check out thedissertationmentor.com. If you go to the store link that's there, I have 2 programs that can help you finish this dissertation. I can help you. Check those out. Have a great day, team.